One of the nice things that happened just as I was entering my fifth of 6 years at McGill was that the Canadian Central Housing Corporation, like the equivalent of HUD, announced a scholarship, one for each school of architecture, to study housing in North America. And I applied and I got selected and joined 4 others. There were 5 schools then in Canada. And we traveled the whole continent, the whole summer, looking at public housing, looking at suburbs, looking at all kinds of experiments. But mostly shocked me was a high-rise public housing, which were very dominant at the time. And they, you know, I came back feeling you got to stop suburban sprawl. People prefer to live in houses. We need to develop a new typology. We got to reinvent the apartment building. And that was my thesis, a housing, prefabricated housing system with a motto, a garden for everyone, a garden. It was fairly complex and advanced, but it was still like boxes and frames and so on. And then I kept working on it after I graduated in my spare time. And when Sandy Van Ginkel, who was my thesis tutor, came to Philadelphia as I was working for Kahn, and he said, we want you back in Montreal because there's going to be a World's Fair, and I'd like you to head the team designing the master plan for the World's Fair. I said, yeah, I'll come back, but with a lot of chutzpah, I said, I also want the opportunity to develop my thesis further. Perhaps it could be one of the pavilions, because there was this kind of theme pavilions, and I said, building a community. And he said, in your spare time, and I went back and I got funding, which was very lucky within the setup of the World's Fair. I got a great engineer, August Commandant, who I met at Kahn, who was Kahn's structural engineer, and brought him over, and I put the team together, and we worked on taking that further into a proposal for the site of the fair, which was approved by the management, but then it had to go to the federal cabinet. This was public funds. And that scheme was presented to the government, Lester Pearson chairing the meeting, the Prime Minister, and the response was, we can't build the whole thing, 1,200 housing units, a whole committee, there's no time, no funds. Take $15 million, do what you can. My first reaction was, it's everything or nothing. But I sobered up and figured the factory is going to cost $5 million. What can we do with 10? And we built 159, a village of prefabricated houses. It wasn't demonstrating the big, larger scale community, but it certainly had its impact, as we know. As we sit back and look back now, in itself, it had extraordinary impact. So that's how my thesis ended up as the Expo most remembered, let's call it, attraction. But it proved itself in the sense that 50 years, 60 almost years later, it's a vibrant community, very diverse, and the people who live there, many living there from the beginning, second generation, third generation in the building. So there is something about the life it offers that people really are drawn to.